I heard voices outside. Loud ones. One of them I recognized immediately. My uncle. But something was wrong. He never raised his voice like that. I didn't even think. I just pulled myself out of bed, eyes still heavy with sleep, feet barely listening to me. I pushed open the door, and everything inside me went still. Soldiers. Armed men, forcing their way past my uncle, like he was nothing. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. My mind was still trying to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. Then I heard him. "Esther, run!" And my body just moved. I ran, harder than I had ever run in my life. My heart was slamming against my chest. My lungs were burning, but I kept going. I didn't look back. I wasn't fast enough. Something hit me, and then nothing. To understand what happened to me, you first need to understand the world I was pulled into. And to understand that world, you need to understand the man who ruled it. King Ahasuerus. They called him the King of Kings. He ruled from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces, all of them bowing to one man, one name, one hand. I never saw his great feast with my own eyes. But news traveled fast in Susa, and the things people were saying, nobody could have made those up. 180 days, 6 months of gold, wine, marble, and power on full display. He wanted every corner of the empire to see exactly what he had, exactly who he was. There is a kind of man who lives like the world was made for him, like the sun rises specifically to light his path. That was Ahasuerus. Not evil, not cruel, just carefree. And that, I would learn, made him more dangerous than any monster could ever be. On the 7th day of the final feast, his heart was merry with wine, they said. He sent for his queen. He wanted her brought before the people, before all the princes and nobles of the empire, crown on her head so they could see her beauty, like she was something he owned. His queen was named Vashti. Even the way people said her name, there was something in it, a weight, a reverence. She was the kind of beautiful that made you uncomfortable, like looking directly at something too bright. 7 chamberlains arrived at her door, bearing the king's command. She looked at them, and then she said, "No." Nobody knew exactly why she refused, but every woman I knew understood. His anger came slowly, and then, all at once, they stripped her of everything. Her crown, her title, gone. A decree went out to every province. Every man shall be master in his own house. Just like that, Vashti disappeared, and the silence she left behind had a shape to it. It was his advisors who planted the next idea, a search. Beautiful young women gathered from every province, brought to the palace, prepared for the king's choosing. And in neighborhoods like mine, families started watching their daughters differently. My uncle was not a man who panicked. In all my years growing up under his care, I never once saw Mordecai rattled. He raised me like I was his own daughter. and he held on to me for as long as he could. I have already told you how that morning began. What I haven't told you is what I saw in my uncle's face before I ran. He was fighting, with his body, with his voice, trying to hold back men who outweighed him and outnumbered him and carried weapons he didn't have. And the look in his eyes when he saw me standing there, that look has never fully left me. I ran, and they took me anyway. When I opened my eyes, everything was wrong. The ceiling was too high, the walls were too smooth, the light came from somewhere I couldn't place, and the smell. Expensive oils, foreign perfumes. Nothing like home. I sat up slowly, and the weight of where I was landed on my chest, like a stone. I was inside the palace of Susa. I pressed my hands together in my lap to keep them from shaking. I told myself, breathe. His name was Haggai, keeper of the women. He looked at me with something I wasn't expecting in a place like this: kindness. He gave me the best chambers, the best attendants. He sat with me and told me gently what was coming, what was expected, what to ask for when my time before the king arrived. I listened to every word. I had nothing else to hold on to. And every night I lay in those soft palace sheets, and I missed the sound of my uncle's voice, the familiar creak of our small home, the smell of ordinary food cooking in an ordinary kitchen. I had never known how much home could hurt until I didn't have one anymore. 12 months. 12 months of oils and spices and instruction and preparation. 12 months of smiling when I needed to smile, speaking when spoken to, learning the rhythms of a world I had not chosen. And through all of it, one thing Mordecai had said to me before I was taken stayed pressed against my heart like a piece of cloth over a wound. Do not tell anyone who your people are. Do not tell anyone you are Jewish. So I smiled, and I bowed, and I pleased everyone around me, and nobody in that palace knew who I really was. When my turn came, I did exactly what Haggai told me. Nothing more, nothing less. The king looked at me across that vast room, and something shifted. He set the royal crown on my head. I was Queen of Persia. I stood in that crown, an orphan girl, a hidden identity, a woman taken from everything she knew. And I thought, if this is not God, I do not know what to call it. He never stopped coming. Every day, my uncle sat at the king's gate, not because he had business there, because it was the closest he could get to me, the closest he could stand to be. That was Mordecai. Even after everything, even after they tore me out of his hands, he came back, every day, just to be near. When I found out he was there, something cracked open in my chest. I didn't cry. I couldn't afford to cry. But I felt it, that particular ache of loving someone you can see, but cannot reach. It was during one of those days at the gate that he overheard something he was never supposed to hear. Two of the king's doorkeepers, plotting against the king's life. Mordecai didn't hesitate. He got word to me. I told the king immediately, in Mordecai's name. It was investigated, confirmed. The men were dealt with. And then it was recorded in the book of the Chronicles of the king. And then the world moved on. I didn't know then how much that single, quiet entry would one day mean. And then there was Haman. I want to be careful how I say this, because even now, the name sits differently in my mouth than other names. He was charming, genuinely charming, the kind of man who walked into a room and made everyone feel like they had been waiting for him. He had a smile that reached his eyes. He laughed at the right moments. He said the right things. Everyone loved Haman, and that was the most terrifying thing about him. Because underneath all of that, there was something cold, something that only came out in the quiet moments. He was charming on the outside and dangerous all the way to the core. The king had elevated Haman above all the other nobles. Everyone bowed when he passed. Everyone dropped to their knees like it was the most natural thing in the world. Everyone, except my uncle. Day after day, Haman walked past, and Mordecai sat still. I wasn't there, but I heard what happened next, and it sent a chill down my spine. When they told Haman about Mordecai, and that Mordecai was Jewish, something in him went quiet. He didn't snap. He didn't shout. He just went quiet. And then he started planning. He came to the king with everything perfectly prepared. His voice was calm, his reasoning clean. "There is a certain people," he said, "scattered among all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from every other people. They do not keep the king's laws. It is not to the king's profit to tolerate them." He even offered silver from his own treasury, 10,000 talents, to cover the cost of what he was proposing. The king didn't even ask which people he was talking about. He just took off his signet ring and handed it to Haman. I still can't hold that image without feeling something cold move through me. A ring, passed from one hand to another in a single, careless moment. And somewhere in the city, a Jewish girl sitting in a palace with a crown on her head had no idea that her people had just been handed a death sentence. The decree went out to every province, to every corner of the empire. On the 13th day of the 12th month, every Jewish man, every Jewish woman, every Jewish child to be destroyed, killed, annihilated. All of Susa was thrown into confusion, and Haman sat down with the king to drink. When the news reached Mordecai, he cried out, loud, bitter, a sound that people stopped in the street to hear. My uncle, the man who had been steady my whole life, the man who never let me see him undone. He was undone. When my maids brought me word, I felt it in my stomach first. That deep, dropping feeling. I sent him clean clothes immediately, anything to replace the sackcloth. He wouldn't take them. I sent my attendant Hathach to find out what was happening. Mordecai told him everything. The decree, Haman, the silver, the date they had already chosen. And then, he sent back a message that I was not ready to receive. He wanted me to go before the king, to intercede, to plead for our people. I read it twice. And then I sat very still for a long moment. And then I sent back the only honest answer I had. All the king's servants and the people of the provinces know, any person who enters the inner court without being called, there is only one law: death. Unless the king holds out the golden scepter, and I have not been summoned in 30 days. Mordecai's answer came back, and I have carried every word of it, every syllable, since the moment I read it. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. He didn't say it like a desperate man grasping for a solution. He said it the way someone speaks when they have known something for a very long time and have been waiting, patiently, quietly, for the right moment to say it out loud. Like he had watched my whole life with this moment in the back of his mind. I read it once, and then again. And then I set the scroll down. My hands wouldn't stop trembling, not because I was ready. I was not ready. But somewhere beneath all that fear, something ancient and certain in me recognized the truth of those words, and it was louder than the trembling. I sat in that silence for a long time, just me, and the weight of a decision I couldn't take back once I made it. I thought about Vashti, what it cost her to say no. I thought about Mordecai in sackcloth, in the street. I thought about my people, scattered across 127 provinces, carrying a death sentence they didn't even know how to fight. And I thought about God, quiet, invisible in all of it. But I had learned enough by then to know that invisible doesn't mean absent. I picked up my pen, and I wrote back to Mordecai. Go. Gather all the Jews in Susa. Fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then I will go to the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. 5 words, the most terrifying and the most freeing words I had ever spoken in my life. The fear didn't leave when I wrote them. I want you to understand that. It didn't disappear. It didn't even quiet down. It just stopped having the final vote. 3 days. I have never prayed the way I prayed in those 3 days. Every hour felt like standing at the edge of something with no way to see the bottom. Every moment of silence I had to choose, again, not to take it back. I was hungry, I was weak, and I was more alert than I had ever been in my life. Because when you strip everything away, every distraction, every comfort, what is left is just you and God. And in those 3 days, I found something I hadn't expected. Not the absence of fear, something steadier than that. On the 3rd day, I rose. I put on my royal robes. I sat while they arranged my hair, placed the crown gently on my head. I looked at my reflection, and I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. She looked calm. She was not calm, but she was ready. And sometimes, ready is enough. I have walked many corridors in my life, but I have never walked one like that one. Every step felt deliberate, heavy. My heart was not beating normally. It was pounding in my ears, in my throat, in my fingertips. The kind of pounding that reminds you that you are alive, fully, completely, terrifyingly alive. The inner court came into view, and then the throne. I stepped into the doorway, and across that enormous room, he looked up. Everything stopped. His expression, I couldn't read it. And in that silence, that terrible, suspended silence between his eyes finding mine and his hand moving, think I forgot how to breathe. He held out the golden scepter. The air rushed back into my lungs. I walked forward on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. I reached out and touched the top of the scepter, and I had to press my feet into the ground to keep from collapsing right there in front of the entire court. What is it, Queen Esther? What do you wish? It shall be given to you, even to half the kingdom. Half the kingdom. I had come to save my people, and I heard myself say, "Come to a banquet. Bring Haman tonight." At the banquet, the king asked me again, "What of your petition?" And again, something in me said, "Not yet." "Come back tomorrow," I said. "You and Haman both. Come to another banquet, and then I will speak." Haman left that banquet feeling like the most important man in the world. And then he passed my uncle. Mordecai didn't stand, didn't bow, didn't even blink. And everything Haman had just felt curdled right there in his chest. He went home, gathered his wife Zeresh and his friends, told them about his wealth, his position, the private banquet the queen had prepared for no one else. "But all of this," he said, "means nothing, as long as I see that Jew Mordecai sitting at the king's gate." His wife, cut from the very same cloth, didn't hesitate. "Build a gallows," she said, 50 cubits high. Get the king's permission to hang Mordecai on it. Then go to the banquet happy. So he built it, 50 cubits high. He was so certain about who would be on it. That night, the king couldn't sleep. Of all the nights, he called for the book of memorable deeds to be brought and read to him. And they read to him the account of Mordecai, who had uncovered the plot against the king's life, who had sent the warning that saved him. "What honor was given to Mordecai for this?" the king asked. "Nothing," they said. "Nothing has been done for him." The next morning, Haman arrived before most of the court had woken up. He had one thing on his mind. But before he could even open his mouth, the king called for him. "What should be done?" the king said, "for the man whom the king delights to honor?" Haman looked at the king, and he thought, who could he mean but me? So he described everything he had ever wanted for himself: royal robes, the king's own horse, a proclamation through the city square. The king nodded slowly. "Excellent. Go quickly, take the robe and the horse, and do exactly this for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Leave out nothing you have mentioned." I was not there, but I have imagined Haman's face in that moment, more times than I can count. They came that evening, the king and Haman. Wine was poured, and the room felt different to me than the night before. Something had shifted. I could feel it. The king lifted his cup and looked at me. "What is your petition, Queen Esther?" "It shall be granted." "What is your request?" "Even to half the kingdom, it shall be fulfilled." I set down my cup. This was the moment. I had fasted 3 days for this moment. I had walked toward a throne that could have killed me for this moment. I breathed in slowly. "If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases you, let my life be given me, and my people at my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, to be annihilated." The king set down his cup. "Who is he?" His voice dropped, low and dangerous.
Where is he? Who would presume to do such a thing?
My heart was in my mouth. I looked across the table. The adversary, the enemy.
Is this wicked Haman?
The silence that followed that sentence was the loudest thing I had ever heard. The king stood and walked into the garden, and Haman, who had walked into every room like he owned it, fell across the couch where I was reclining and begged. When the king returned, he saw him there.
Will he even assault the queen in my own house?
They covered his face immediately. And then Harbona, one of the king's own servants, spoke up quietly.
There is also the gallows that Haman made for Mordecai, who saved the king's life, standing at Haman's house.
The king's jaw tightened.
Hang him.
He was so completely certain about who would be on it. He had never been more wrong about anything in his life. And that was the end of Haman. Not with a battle, not with a great dramatic confrontation. Just the quiet, devastating precision of a God who had been arranging every piece long before any of us understood what the picture was. That same day, the king gave me the house of Haman, and Mordecai, my Mordecai, came before the king. For the first time since they took me, I could breathe when I thought about him. I had told the king who he was, what he was to me, and the king gave him his signet ring, the same ring he had handed to Haman. I set Mordecai over Haman's entire house, and for just one moment, I let myself feel it. What it meant to see my uncle standing in that palace. Honored, alive, safe. But the decree was still alive. Somewhere in every province, our people were still reading our death sentence, still counting down to the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar. I went before the king again. This time, I fell at his feet. I wept. Not the quiet, dignified tears of someone managing their emotions. Real tears. The kind that have been held for a long time and can't be held anymore. I begged him to revoke what Haman had written. I begged him to see what was at stake. He held out the scepter, and when I rose, he looked at me in a way I had not expected. Not like a king looking at a subject, like a man looking at a woman he was still figuring out, and finding more than he expected every time he looked. I didn't choose him. I want to be honest about that. But somewhere in the middle of all of this, I stopped seeing him only as the carefree, powerful, careless man who held my life in his hands. He showed up when it mattered. He extended the scepter, twice. He heard me. He moved. And sometimes, that is the most complicated kind of love. The kind that grows in the space where fear used to live. Write as you see fit, in the king's name. For what is written in the king's name and sealed with his ring cannot be revoked. We wrote, Mordecai and I, together, to every province, in every language. The Jews had the right to defend themselves, to assemble, to stand. And Mordecai walked out of the king's presence dressed in royal robes, blue and white, a great golden crown, a robe of fine linen and purple. The city of Susa, and in the provinces, everywhere the letters arrived, there was light and joy and gladness and honor. The day came, the exact day Haman had chosen, casting his lots, so certain of his timing, so certain of his power. The 13th day of the 12th month of Adar. But the fear that had followed that date across the empire had changed. Our people stood, and the God who had been silent through every chapter of this story was never more visible than on that day. They called it Purim, named after the Pur, the lots that Haman had cast to destroy us. What he meant as a weapon became our celebration. Every year, every generation. The 14th and 15th days of Adar, days of feasting and gladness, days of giving gifts to one another, days of remembering what happened, and more importantly, who made it happen. People ask me sometimes, "Were you afraid?" Every single day. I was afraid the morning the soldiers came. I was afraid waking up in that palace with nothing familiar around me and no one I loved within reach. I was afraid every time Haman's name moved through those halls like a cold wind. I was afraid on the third day when I stood up, put on my crown, and started walking toward a throne that had every right to end me. The fear never fully left, but I stopped letting it lead. Because here is what I know now that I did not know then. God doesn't always part the sea right in front of you. He doesn't always announce himself with fire and thunder. Sometimes he is working in the quiet, in a king who cannot sleep, in a book opened to exactly the right page, in a servant who speaks up at exactly the right moment, in a girl taken from her home who somehow ends up in the only position in the empire that could save her people. He was in all of it, every piece, even the pieces that felt like loss. I didn't ask for any of this. I was taken from the man who raised me, placed in a world I didn't choose, given a crown that came with a weight I was not prepared for. But I would not trade a single moment of it. Not the fear, not the fasting, not even the morning they took me. Because all of it, every painful, terrifying, uncertain piece of it, led me to the moment I finally understood what I was made for. And that moment changed everything. You may not have been taken from your home, but if you are sitting with something that frightens you, something that feels too big, too dangerous, too costly, I want you to hear what my uncle said to me through that scroll. Who knows, whether you have not come to where you are for such a time as this. My name is Esther, and this is my testimony.